Remembrance, the Commandos of Achnacarry. Winston Churchill became Prime Minister on the 10th of May 1940, the day that Germany invaded the Low Countries and France. From the end of May, over 300,000 British and Allied troops were evacuated from Dunkirk. France surrendered on the 17th of June. The situation was dire. An invasion was expected from across the Channel and the North Sea. Churchill, who as a newspaper reporter had been taken prisoner during the South African War of 1899 to 1902, was familiar with the guerrilla tactics employed to great effect by the Boers against British forces. He recognized that Britain needed just such an irregular force of its own, one to take the fight to the enemy, to wage guerrilla warfare on the continent. A new force was needed. The Commandos were to be this new force. And Lochaber was to be their training ground. From 1942 to 1945, commando training was headquartered in Lochaber at Achnacarry House, the ancestral home of Clan Cameron, and ranged over the estate's mountains, glens, moorland, rivers and lochs. The regime was intense, as was the weather at times. However, these conditions produced expertly trained soldiers who were equipped with the requisite knowledge and skills of irregular warfare that allowed them to take the fight to the enemy. The training at Achnacarry was extremely demanding. It had to be. This map, entitled the Commando Dark Mile, gives us an idea of the activities that were undertaken by recruits on the Commando training course. Cross-country marches and exercises, including living rough and bivouacking, road marches along the tree-lined Dark Mile, part of the local 5-mile circuit, proposed landing at the Commando boat station at Bunarcake, speed marches to and from Spian Bridge, 7 miles distant, and beyond, rock climbing, assault courses, weapons training, the Tarzan course, and fieldcraft. The Toggle Bridge was a means to crossing a river, photographed courtesy of the Imperial War Museum. Donald Gilchrist, Achnacarry instructor and D-Day veteran, in his 1960 memoir, Castle Commando, describes it as strung high between tall beech trees on either bank. It crossed the river Archaic. Crossing it was by no means easy. It was a common sight to see trainees performing all sorts of unintentional acrobatics on it. For those who fell through, the waters of the Archaic were icy cold. The first incident of loss of life, 5 men were carefully picking their way over, and then all 5 were in the river. 2 were swept away. From that day on, a grapple net was suspended downriver as a safety measure. The crossing was done under enemy fire, with live bullets whizzing around, fired by marksmen skilled enough to be sure of missing when they wanted to, and with hand grenades being tossed into the river below. Achnacarry was also used to train the Home Guard, seen here practicing close quarter combat. Allied soldiers were also trained in commando warfare in Lochaber. Here we see French commandos marching past Achnacarry House in 1943 and being inspected by Commandant Lieutenant Colonel Charles Vaughan, with Lord Lovat behind him and to the left. In the opposed landing training, live fire and controlled explosions were used to simulate real battle conditions and test the nerve of the trainees as well as their boat handling skills. Its basis was the military operation carried out by Lord Lovat's No. 4 Commando during the Dieppe raid of August 1942. The shore safely reached, trainees leave their craft and rush the beach in the face of live ammunition fire. We can see evidence of its military past in Lochaber's landscape. Loch Lochy is now at peace. The commando training was necessarily physically and mentally testing, as its goal was to produce an elite fighting force. Inevitably, in an environment unfamiliar and challenging to many of those in uniform, where live ammunition was used, fast-flowing rivers, cold deep lochs, and steep mountain ranges were witness to a number of training fatalities. Lives were lost through drowning, falling from height, gunshot, and explosion. Commando lives were lost too in action before the war ended in 1945. To commemorate the feats of the Commandos, the Commando Memorial at Speonbridge, sculpted by Scott Sutherland, was officially unveiled by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, 12th of September 1952. Thereafter, annual Remembrance Day services have been held here. In 1957, Major Gilchrist, now of the Commando Association, proposed that the Fort William Town Council assume responsibility for the Remembrance Day service at the memorial, and this was agreed to. '21st-century Royal Marine Commandos and retired veterans commemorate their predecessors by reenacting the Speed March from Speonbridge Railway Station via the memorial to Achnacarry House. Every year, the Remembrance Day Parade gathers at the memorial to pay its respects. Remembrance Day by Marian Angus. Someone was singing up a twisty stair, a fragment of a song, one sweet spring day, when 12 o'clock was ringing through the sunny square. There was a lad baith frank and free, cam doon the bonny banks o' Dee, wi' tartan plaid and buckled shoon, he'll come nae mair to our tune. He dwells within a far country, where great ones do him courtesy. They've gi'en him a golden croon, and he'll come nae mair to our tune. No one is singing up the twisty stair, quiet as a sacrament the November day. Can't you hear it swinging, the little ghostly air? Hear it sadly stray through the misty square, in and out a doorway, up a twisty stair, tartan plaid and buckled shoon, he'll come nae mair to our tune. Thank you.